Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Google Plus Hangout. I'm really excited to have a special guest with me on today, Susan Solovic, who is a personal branding expert. And we're going to take questions and talk about how to build a personal brand and promote yourself. So, Susan, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks. It's great to be here, Evan. Thanks for inviting me.
Now, Susan and I are both part of the Sage Summit, which is an event coming up. Wow, it's coming up soon.
I know, a couple of weeks.
I got to finish my presentation. July 27th to 30th in New Orleans, and I'm going to be talking about how to deal with haters on social media, which should be a fun topic. And Susan,
I've had a few of those.
Yeah. Oh, we all have.
Yeah.
I have some fun ways to deal with them, so it should be an interesting talk. And Susan is talking about how to build a personal brand, and also a session for women entrepreneurs, giving advice and wisdom. And I felt like I wouldn't be able to contribute much on the women's side, so we're going to talk about building a personal brand. So just off the top, Susan, can you talk about the importance of building a personal brand? Why it means something to, as an entrepreneur, you need to have a personal brand?
Well, let's face it, when you start a business, you are the brand, you are the company, you are everything. So it's one way to get that little bit of competitive advantage. I mean, after all, we know that when we see people on television or in the media or whatever it might be on a Google Hangout, I mean, that builds credibility and trust. People get a sense that they know you, and you become that go-to expert, that celebrity in your industry or in your business. So it's a real competitive advantage when you're trying to build your company.
So what are some of the steps that you think people, I mean, I'm a big believer, right? I mean, it's on the wall, got the gear. But so what do you feel for someone who thinks, yeah, that's important, I want to do it? What are some of the steps they need to take?
I think the first thing is you need to figure out what your voice is going to be. What do you want to stand for? A lot of times when I talk to groups, I get people to say, oh, I'm an expert in this, but I'm also an expert in that. You've got to pick a lane and stay in it. You've got to get known for something. So you want to be the go-to expert in residential real estate, or you want to be the go-to person for mortgages, or whatever it may be. You've got to figure out, number one, what's the lane I'm going to be thriving in, and then also what's your voice? What's the message that you want to get people to get from you? And you also have to recognize that this is not about selling. This is about really providing great information to your audience. If you try to sell people, they're going to run the other way. So you want to be able to give away information. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want to give it away because I want people to buy it from me. Well, you know what? If they think you're the expert, they may go to your seminar. They may go to your Google Hangout. They may see you on television, but they're going to come to you for that expertise that you have and not try to do it on their own.
I love it. Is there, for the people watching and trying to figure out, is there an example you could share of how you can stay in your lane? Like, how do you find out what that lane is and how do you stay in it using whatever example might make sense?
Well, Evan, it takes some time sometimes. So, for example, I'll just use myself. When I first started doing this, after I sold my business, and I was working with some consultants, and they said, oh, you should be the growth gal because you're all about growth. Well, I put on this name, the growth gal, and it just didn't feel right on me. I tried it out for a little while, and I was like, I just don't like that. So you may have a couple of iterations before you really hit it on the head. And now, I'm known as the small business expert. That works for me. That is who I am. That's what I'm about. So, try it out. It's just like going to the store and trying on clothes. Try it on until you find something that really fits great, and you want to keep it on all the time. Those little comfy clothes that just are right for you.
I'm curious, how long, is my own personal question, how long did it take you to figure out that identity for yourself?
It took several years, actually. I played around with it quite a bit, and like I said, went through some iterations, and then finally it just came to me that, this is what I'm all about, small business, and I am the small business expert, the only one, the best one.
Cool. We've got some questions coming in.
Sure.
Jesus is wondering, how can he build a brand on Amazon? I don't know if you have recommendations for Amazon specifically.
Yeah, I don't really have recommendations specifically for Amazon, but I would say it's like anything else. You want a platform. So you want to put content out there, you want to share content, you want to create original content, and you want people to start following you and reaching out to you for that content. So it goes back to the value that you're providing. And you know, people say to me, well, I don't have time to produce original content. Well, every one of us in our businesses, we get the same questions asked over and over and over again by our customers, our clients. You just start taking those questions and you answer them little bits and pieces here and there, and before you know it, you've got a lot of robust content created.
Yeah, and I think I mean, for Amazon, so you have a book, you're trying to get out there. Amazon, you know, gives you the platform, but you got to promote it. Like they give you the technology, but it's on you to get it out there. Yeah. And I think if you're on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or blogging, pick what. If you're a writer, maybe blogging is probably more your path because you like writing. I'm all in on YouTube. I love the camera and doing events. And build up a name for yourself so people want to come and check out. The people ask me all the time, do I have a book? And I'm working on it. I got a deal in place, but I don't have it out yet. Do you have a book, incidentally? Are you working on it?
Yes, well, I have 4 books, and I'm working on my 5th one. So,
wow. So there you go. Nice. I love it. Yeah, and so you want to build up a name so that people ask you, do you have a book?
Yeah, my last book, luckily, hit the New York Times bestseller list. So, but, you know, it is about building up that platform. And you hit the nail on the head, Evan, when you said, you know, you really can't just pick one channel. Everything has to work together. So, you know, you want to be out there. You want to be in as many places as your audience will be. So, you know, for example, if you're dealing with the younger generation, you want to be out there on Snapchat, you know, because that's where they are. Not so much on Facebook anymore. That's not cool. So, you know, you've got to know your audience, where they are and where you can touch them.
It's amazing how quickly something becomes not cool.
I know. It's so funny, you know? It's like, oh, Facebook, my grandma's on Facebook. I don't want to do that.
Grover is right in to say he works in wristwatches and is trying to figure out how to build a personal brand for a product, which in this case is wristwatches.
Sure. The same thing applies. You want to be able to be that go-to person, that expert when it comes to wristwatches. I mean, I don't know very much about wristwatches, so I bet there's all sorts of interesting facts and fun things that you could do about watches, and you know, maybe even talk about famous celebrities and their watches and what they wear and what's cool and what's not. I mean, there's so much to talk about to raise the awareness. And like I said, once you're the expert, once you're that go-to person, you've got their credibility and rapport, then guess who people are going to go to wristwatch?
Yeah, I love it. What comes to mind is Gary Vaynerchuk. He made a name for himself in the wine business. And if you're selling product and you want to be the expert in the product business, he's a great person to kind of model.
And with product, you know, you can use things like Instagram and Pinterest and even Vine, and, you know, you're out there. And so you've got a lot of vehicles that maybe not as appropriate for service-driven business.
Cool. Become Your Strength is asking, what's the best way to promote yourself on social media? Do you have any tricks?
Well, there aren't any tricks. What I'm going to say is you need to be authentic. So you need to be your real self. And so when I was in a news anchor, my news director always told me it should always be 80% about the story. So in social media, it's about sharing content, providing great information. And then 20%, a little glimpse of your personality, and maybe even a little sales pitch once in a while. But it really needs to be no different than face-to-face networking. You think about face-to-face networking, you don't go up to somebody and say, hey, Evan, you want to buy my stuff? You know, no, you want to say, hey, Evan, tell me a little bit about yourself. Oh, really, you're interested in dogs? By the way, I happen to be a dog lover myself. Make those connections, and that's the same thing on social media. There's no tricks. You need to be authentic, and you need to be there and be present in the moment.
Yeah, I think it's like you got to care about people.
Right, you do. Absolutely. I mean, I see people who push out a lot of stuff on social media, but then they disappear, and they're not engaging with anybody. Well, it's really pretty much a waste of time because people want to be engaged with you and want to have access to you.
Yeah, and I love the thought of not just being a broadcaster, not just sending out the promotional stuff you're talking about, not just like getting a megaphone and yelling.
Right, exactly.
Posting helpful content. Just on that note, how about So that's in terms of content creation. How about in terms of making connections and making partnerships with other people, industry experts, reaching out, commenting on their stuff? What are your thoughts on that?
So, the interesting thing today is, as opposed when I started my career years and years ago, and I was a marketing professional, it was so hard to attract the attention of the media or, like you were saying, industry thought leaders, anything like that, because really the only way you had it was, send out a press release, and we were really excited when you could fax it instead of, having to put it in the mail. Nowadays, with social media, with technology, or even creating your own blog or podcast or Google Hangout, you can now capture the attention of such a wide range of people. And so one of the things that I do for my own business is I use TweetDeck. There are other resources that you can use. And I identify the brands I want to do business with. I follow reporters and producers that I want to connect with. And I start retweeting them or engaging with them, commenting on what they're putting out there. And pretty soon they're going, oh, wait a minute, who is this Susan Solovic? Maybe I should be following her too. And I've really gotten great business that way and great opportunities. But it's that engagement once again.
I found that when people send me tweets or comment on my YouTube channel and they're consistent, I always want to look at who this person is.
Yeah.
It's an easy way to generate attention and get on somebody's radar without being in their face and trying to sell them something.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I've got people that I've connected with in my platform on social media. I don't really know who they are, but I almost feel like we're friends because, we talk all the time, and they've become great supporters of mine, and anytime I need something pushed out, they're right there to help, and it's great. It's great.
Cool. Maxie is writing in about how do you grow, so you talked about Snapchat. He wants to know, how do I grow an audience in Snapchat?
I am not an expert on Snapchat. I apologize. I don't even want to try to answer that question. I would say just out of my gut, it's the same strategy as any other social media platform, just putting good quality stuff out there. But I can't answer that one. Sorry.
Yeah, I am not on Snapchat, so I don't have specific advice either.
I don't feel so badly then, Evan. Yeah.
My general advice when I don't know something is I model success. So I'd be looking at people who are building personal brands.
Yeah.
And are on Snapchat, like Casey Neistat or like Gary Vaynerchuk, guys who aren't just like the kids on it posting pictures from wherever, but who already have a personal brand and they've extended that into Snapchat. I'd be looking at what they're doing and then how can I model that? Not just copy that, but model it and put it up.
Yeah. Good point.
Pratik. Oh, well, Maxie just followed up. Haha, I appreciate the honesty. We're being authentic.
Yeah, that's right. You got to be authentic. I'm not gonna try to BS anybody.
I love it. Okay, Pratik. Any advice on how to transition from brand me to a different version, newer face? So keeping the old audience while bringing in a new one too.
I'm not quite sure I understand that. Can they elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, Pratik, if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, that'd be helpful. I think he's just talking about he had an original, he branded himself one way originally, and now he wants a new brand. And he's, how do I transition to the new brand without losing all the people that I had under the old brand?
I think that, first of all, you need to get the new brand kicked off and then slowly pull people over. But it depends on how much big a departure it is. I mean, if he was known as a personal trainer and now he's going to be a spiritual healer or something, I don't know, you might have to start from scratch. But, so one of the things that I did when I sold my business and then just went out to become my own personal brand is I took the database from the business and I reintroduced myself. So I sent them an email that said, hey, you've known me. I was the co-founder of this business. You followed me. We've worked together. Small business has always been my platform. Now here's what I'm doing. I hope you'll stay with me. And I gave them the option to opt in and stay with me as a follower. That's one thing I did.
Cool. Yeah. I used to regret when I launched that I put it under my name. My business is my name. My website is my name. I wish I called it like small business tips or something, you know, keyword rich. And but now I'm a lot happier that I you know, kind of luckily just picked my name, because I found that my personal brand has evolved just like I've evolved as a human being.
Yeah.
And what I found is if you have a loyal audience, you bring them with you.
That's true.
And I try to expose, and this is maybe what works for me and not others, but I try to expose my audience to other areas of my life. So, you know, like this Guan Yu statue has meaning that I'll talk about it. I salsa dance and I'll talk about that. And my wife will cook on my YouTube channel, and
Oh, nice.
inject some of the personal elements too. So if I bring something new, it's not a total shock, where I like to bring people along with me.
Right, that's great. That's great. I love the salsa dancing, by the way. I want a demonstration when we're in New Orleans, all right?
All right. You know, every time I go out to an event, I always try to find a local place and bring some people with me. So we'll have to go dancing. I'm there for 3 nights, I think.
Yeah, that's okay.
Pratika wrote back, say, yes, that's exactly what he wanted. So that's great.
Okay, great.
So what are some of the points that you're going to be talking about in your presentation when you go up in a couple weeks?
So I really, number one, I want people to understand that, you know, even though, you know, I'm out there, I'm on network television, all that sort of thing, I didn't start there. You know, so I want them to understand that you can get there, but you have to start small. What are the steps that you need to take? How you can become your own publishing empire practically today with technology. And then I'm going to talk to them a little bit about the secrets of getting in front of the camera. So if you want to be on television, you want to be on network news, you know, here's how you're going to get there. Here's what you need to know. Here's what's going to get you blackballed and you're never going to get on. So those kinds of secrets is what I want to give them, so that they can walk away armed and well-equipped to take those little baby steps, and then who knows, they might end up on the Today Show one of these days.
Cool. And so for somebody, you said the first step is you got to find what you stand for, find what you believe in. And I'm a big believer in that. I think everybody should be purpose-driven as they build their companies. Right. Do you have advice for I deal with a lot of people who are lost in that respect. Like, they don't know what they stand for. They don't know what their purpose is. Until you figure that out, it's hard to articulate it in a meaningful way to the general public. So do you have thoughts on how do you find that? How do you find that lane you're supposed to be in? You find your purpose, find your passion?
Right. Well, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, obviously, like I said, it took me a while to find it myself. But I do think that, you know, just really peeling back the layers of the onion, so to speak, and really getting into your heart and soul about what is it that drives you, what is it that you want to accomplish, and what do you want to be known for. So what's your legacy going to be? Like, you know, what would they write in your obituary? So things like that, little exercises that you can think about that help you identify what it is you're trying to accomplish, can be very beneficial. And then I think that a lot of people often are fearful of saying what they want to do because they're afraid that it's going to look like, well, I'm trying to get out there and, you know, toot my own horn and, you know, trying to get famous or get recognized. But you know what? Everybody's got to do that. We're all in the business of selling ourselves. And even if you're selling widgets, you're in the business of selling yourself, because they're not going to buy widgets from somebody they don't like, right? So that's a lot of it too, just getting over that hurdle and recognizing that the opportunity's out there, and that you're smart enough and good enough, and you know somebody's going to be doing it and delivering that message and that content. Might as well be you.
Love it. More questions coming in.
Okay.
What is your #1 tip on public speaking?
Get out there and do it. Yes. You know, people say to me, oh, I'm so afraid of speaking in front of people. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So, you know, I would say if you're not used to it, join something like Toastmasters. Try to get on some panels instead of trying to do the whole thing by yourself. Get on some panels. Remember that it's stories that people remember. It's not necessarily your PowerPoint presentation with all those key points you want to make. It's the stories that bring your remarks to life. So learn to become a good storyteller, and never, ever, ever memorize your speech. You want to go out there and talk and have a conversation with the audience. You people who go up and memorize their speech. And I actually, personally, I don't even like to use PowerPoint presentation because I think that you get so locked in and people are sitting there staring at your slides instead of engaging with you. So I think that storytelling and being able to really talk to the audience, having a conversation, and then just getting out there and practicing, those are some of the keys.
Yeah, I think one of the things that helped me too was realizing that I could help the people in the audience.
Yeah.
That helped me with my nerves, where I felt like, I've had whatever topic you're talking about, whatever, speech I was ready to deliver, I'd already had lots of conversations one-on-one with people about the same topic. And I knew that information helped them. And so I had a message that would be helpful to the people who are sitting here coming to watch me. And that always, I don't know, for some reason that always helps me feel more comfortable and confident going on stage. What about for camera? Like, so you've had tons of experience obviously in front of the camera. A lot of people, would rather die than be on camera. How do you, is it still just practice, or how did you kind of get started on being on camera?
So the thing about being on camera is you can't have a thin skin because, you need to be able to take the critique and the advice and the feedback. So you never want to go in a big deal your first time on the air because you're probably going to screw it up unless you just happen to be some kind of amazing natural. So you want to start small and you want to get feedback from people. The thing about being on camera is to keep your answers very short and very succinct and to speak in a language that people can understand you, because the average person watching you is going to have about a 6th grade education. So you've got to remember that. And you also have to be willing to think about how you look. Now, I know it's a lot easier for guys. Guys can get away with a lot more, and they are going to look at the way you look. And I will tell you, when I first got a contract with ABC News in New York, they said to me, okay, we don't like your hair, we don't like your makeup, and we don't like your wardrobe. Wow. I used to have short brown curly hair. So now I'm a blonde, and I dress very differently, and and I was sitting there thinking, wow, I can't believe it. I'm this age, and they're telling me they don't like the way I look, and they just hired me. So you've got to be willing to make the changes and listen. And so you may love the haircut that you've had since high school, but you know what? It may not be what you're going to get on the air with, because it's a visual medium, and you really have to pay attention.
You used to have brown hair, and I used to have more hair. So
there you go.
So here's a question from Shuffs, who's a loyal kind of YouTube viewer. Hi, Susan. I'm an entrepreneur who's fairly confident with putting myself out there and doing my all to gain recognition for my. I'm currently doing well with social media marketing and gaining some popularity, which helps my company. Other than social media marketing and content writing, are there other tips you have to offer when it comes to improving his self-image?
Improving the self-image. Well, a self-image often comes from inside. So you really need to use a lot of self-talk. And I'll tell you a true story here. So when I was going into junior high school, I had done very poorly on a standardized test the year before in 6th grade. So unfortunately, I was put into a class for the mentally challenged students and told that the most I could ever hope for would be a vocational education. And all of my friends were in the class for the gifted students. So suddenly I was labeled, a child with learning disabilities and all of that, and I started playing that part. It wasn't until I was a sophomore in high school that a counselor said to me, there's really no reason you couldn't graduate at the top of your class. And I was like sort of dumbfounded, like, wait a minute, I can't do that. But for some reason, I paid attention. I did graduate in the top of my class, and went through college. I also graduated from law school with honors and passed the bar. But my point is, I still struggle with that girl in that class in 7th grade because she's still very part of me. And so I have to learn to get rid of her, not listen to her, because she would just tear me down if she got the chance. So I think all of us have those little inner demons that we have to wrestle with. And you have to recognize that you are really darn good at what you do. And by golly, you know what? get out there and do it, because you're smart enough to figure it out, and the world needs to know it.
I love it. I was thinking the same thing. Inner demons. We all have our own.
Oh, absolutely.
I have a need to. I hate letting people down. It's one of my things. Like, I hate letting people down, and it's often a good thing because it means you over deliver a lot and provide a lot of value. But a lot of times I find if I'm doing a speech or an interview, I kind of secretly hope that the person's going to cancel on me so that I don't have to go, because I might let them down. And I always have to like talk myself out of it that, hey, this is like, I'm going to help them. It's going to be great. I always feel great afterwards, but I always have this like little voice, like kind of secretly hoping something's going to happen. They're going to cancel on me and I don't have to do it. So yeah, so I mean, we all have our own things that we got to deal with. That's fine.
And to further answer that question, one of the things I've learned to do is if I really feel intimidated and out of my league, sometimes I just say, okay, I'm going to play a role. If I were playing this in a movie, how would I play this role? And I become that person. So I did that when I was raising venture capital for my company, because so few women ever get venture capital. And I was in the technology world, and that's so male dominated. And of course, the venture capital world is dominated by males too. And so I had to say, okay, you know, I am this woman, and I'm going in there, and I'm going to tell these guys how they need to give me money, millions of dollars. So it was, you know, sort of a role I played.
Cool. Did you try to? I'm curious. Did you try to embody a particular person, or just that mindset?
No, it's just the mindset. You know, it was sort of all those tough, you know, women that you see on the movies or on the sitcoms or whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be one of those. I'm going to grow a pair, as Larry Wingate would say.
I love it. And Shelf's back. Thanks for the response. He's fighting his inner demons, but he's working on it. He landed 3 new clients this week. So
that's great. Congratulations.
47179 writes in, hey, maybe it's a stupid question, but I have problems with it every day. This is a little off topic, but I'm curious to see what you think. How can I motivate myself to work hard?
Work harder. Well, first of all, there is no such thing as a dumb question, right? I mean, so I think that's an interesting question, especially if you're starting your own business, or in particular if you're working on your own. Sometimes it's hard to get up and get motivated to get going. So I think one of the things to do is to set little mini rewards for yourself. So put something out there that says, this is my goal, and you know what, it's a little bit of a stretch, but when I get there, you know what, I'll treat. So, you know, whether it's like some kind of food you want to go out to eat, or it's a piece of technology, you know, gadget, whatever you've been wanting to buy, give yourself that treat. It's like that carrot, you know, you're going to go for it. And if you don't achieve it, don't cheat. You don't get it, okay? So that's kind of one of the ways I think you can motivate yourself to get going. And I personally am a total believer in goal setting, and I always write mine down, and I have, you know, short-term, I have my daily goals, I have short-term goals, and I have long-term goals. And if they're not written down, it's so easy just to forget about it.
Do you keep them somewhere too that you can look at them?
I do. You know, I have to admit, I could keep them on tech stuff and all of that. I write them down in a notebook, in a journal. That's where I keep them. And then every morning I get up and I just get an index card, and I put my top things that absolutely have to get done that day, and I set everything aside until those things are done, and then I can move on to other things.
I love it. One of the things I find super helpful is having an environment for greatness. If you want to be great, you got to be surrounded by greatness. So, like, there's a reason why this guy is here, and that's on the wall, and I have music that I have every morning that gets me moving. And I think having a schedule and environment that makes you think bigger helps you stay motivated. Because most people, their environment sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
You're a product of your environment, and so you don't end up doing anything great because you're not surrounded by greatness.
Especially if you work for yourself and you're working from home, everybody thinks, oh, well, you're not really working, so it's whatever. And you just have to remember that you have set hours, you have to work, you have things that have to be accomplished, and that's the way it is.
No, we're already up against the clock. It's crazy. We'll take 2 quick questions. Tanner's asking, where are we from? I'm from Toronto, Canada. Susan?
Well, I'm actually from St. Louis. I live part-time in New York City, and I'm building a home in Jupiter, Florida.
Wow, there you go. I love it. And then last question for you, what goes through your mind before you write a best-selling book?
I have to have an idea that I really want to communicate to people. So like the book I'm working on right now, it's going to be called The 1% Club. And my mission is to help small businesses who are struggling, and so few who ever cross over the $1 million threshold, much less get to the multi-million-dollar level, less than 1%, get to that level. My mission is to help small businesses get to that elite 1%, the upper echelon of small business success. And I know that resources, inspiration, and guidance to mentor them to get to that level of success.
You have a show on that, don't you? I thought I saw a show about that.
Yeah, I have a show on iTunes, a podcast, and then also a show on Whatever It Takes Network.
I love it. Love it. Cool. Well, I mean, I know you can't see the questions, but people are saying great tips. Thank you so much. And I know we're a little over, but Susan, thank you so much for spending time with us today. For everybody watching, again, Susan and I are both going to be at the Sage Summit. There's a promo code in the description. Normally it's $800, but with the promo code, you can get in for $99. So that's a pretty sweet.
It's a great deal. Great deal.
We're both going to be there. You can come and talk to me, talk to Susan, share some business knowledge. And again, Susan, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate all the advice and wisdom that you share with my audience today.
It's my pleasure, Evan. Thanks a lot. See you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, see you then. We'll go salsa dancing.
Yes. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.